Hi Wendy, good evening to you. Yeah, I'm well, thank you. You? Leora, good evening to you. Glad you could join us nice and early. Ben, good evening to you. Ah, okay. Well, Friday it is then. I'll see you all then. I'll come back in a few days' time. James, good evening. And yeah, great to have you with me. Why did I call it Friday? I don't know why I did that. Never mind. Hopefully those who want to watch it will watch it. So that'll be great. And let's hope that happens. There you go. I was a bit rushed last night when I did it, Ben. So that's why. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you. When you rang me or left a message for me earlier, I was in the blazing sun. I was painting. Oh, thank you, Leora. That's very kind of you. We only got started yet. You may want that back before I finished. Thank you so much. Yes, Ben, I was actually painting at Greatstone with the marsh lookers, and the thing was that I could barely see what you were saying. I got the gist of the first one, but I've got to I've got to reply to the next one. So sorry, mate. I appreciate that. Good evening, Derek. Nice of you to join us. And we shall get underway any time now. Very soon, anyway. Let a few more minutes go by. Let people come in. Hope everybody is fine and had a great weekend. Thinking I want to sneeze every 2 seconds. I do apologise. I hope I don't. Rather embarrassing. Okay. So, where are we? We are 9 watching. Good. Well, we'll get a few more, I'm sure. I'm looking at some graph at the bottom here. I have no idea what I'm looking at. It's we've been going 1 minute. Concurrent views. What does that say? Concurrent viewers. I have no idea what I'm looking at. But there are 8 of you, I think. Okay, all right. We shall start the ball rolling anytime now. So, I hope you've all been painting. Leora, I've still got to comment on your little Venetian study of mine. Thanks for having a go at that. I think you've done a great job. I will talk to you more about that one. 10 now. 10 people. Oh yeah, okay, that's cool. 10 people watching. I'm itching. I've been bitten. So many times. I went yesterday. I went out on the Romney Marshes with my son Barnaby, and we took our drones out to fly. And interesting because he's gone and bought one of these small ones, which is really a delight to fly. And I was going to go and get one myself. In fact, I actually, tell the truth, I actually did buy one. Didn't really need to. I was told not to by him, but I bought one anyway. And then I had to go with mine and realised that everything mine could do much better than his anyway. So I took my one back to the shop, and there you go. But we went out flying, and in this field, it's very, very dry, full of midges, full of all sorts of it. I've been bitten so badly, I tell you. Everywhere. I keep scratching. Trying to paint pictures today on the beach. Well, actually, I say I got bitten in the feet. It could have been sandflies from all the beach because we're on the dunes, so we could have got bitten by those too. Never mind, it's one of those, and we will live with that. It's not a big problem. Okay, John, good evening. Where are we? Keep your flight, please. Yeah, well, I might just be very, very gracious and share them, Wendy. So be warned. You might have me sharing my fleas. Michael, good evening to you, sir. John, good evening to you. Okay, mate. Well, hopefully you can stick around for a little bit. And Monia reduces the itch. Yeah, I'm not quite sure I'm going to get my hands on some of that, Leora. But worth noting for the future, for sure. Okay, now to this completion of this Thames barge. I haven't done anything to it. I did promise you I wouldn't, and I haven't. So there you go. William, good evening to you. William, I'm glad you're watching. It's not a case of do I mind. The idea of this, my friend, is for everybody who is interested to watch along, and I hope to heavens that I don't bore everybody. But yeah, no, thank you for joining us, William, and hope you enjoy it. At the moment, I seem to have lost my image, so bear with me while I just kick back into that. I don't know what's gone on. It seemed to think I wanted to make a book out of the thing, so we will disregard that. Okay, I've looked at this, and I want to develop more on the sky before we go into the boat. Yeah, I was frightened about going there, Leora. Okay, fair go, Leora. Yeah, I think I'll sort of leave the ammonia treatment and its obvious resources alone for the moment. But thanks for the tip. I don't know. If I get really desperate, you never know. But it's a way of keeping everybody away from me on Wednesday when I start teaching. Now, William, that's cool, mate. Not a problem. Glad you could join. Where are you from, by the way? If you don't mind me asking. Okay, this paint has not been used for a while, so I'm hoping that it's not got too skinned over. I'm sure it has. I'm going to have to punch holes in a few of them, but I just want to play around. Now, there was a definite mark that I missed up in the top of the sky. I'm just going to come back in and try and suggest some blue sky right up in the top there. Now, I was doing this today, actually, and we had a wonderful time at the dunes at Greatstone. It's a great place to go to plein air. And I'm just going to run a little bit of orange. Yeah, they have all skinned up. I should have checked these first. Hopefully they will get me through the evening, and even the white has skinned over. It shows how hot it's been. Okay, I'm just going to try and put in a bit of blue sky up in here, and then I can come back in with the white. I don't know why I saw it differently to the photograph. I did, obviously. So I'm just going to try and make amends for that just a bit by punching a bit of blue up in the top here and suggest that the cloud is breaking up slightly. A little bit of that, a little bit of that. I don't know, you can't see my colours because I've got them out, but you can see the blue mixes that I'm making here. Yeah, I will, and I might just do that, Leora, because I know Wendy loves the fact when I can share things like fleas and what have you. That just doesn't bear thinking about. Alright, I'm just playing around with some blue sky just to touch it up here. I've got some nice blues down here, which I don't really want to do too much to. I just want to suggest a bit more blueness and a little bit of zinc white going into the blue. Just to play around. That's gone the wrong way with the blue, so let's come up and make it paler with some titanium white. Just come back in and punch some of that colour back in. I don't really want to do too much to the sky down here. Just felt that it needed to be a little lighter in there at some point. And it does actually have a little bit of Joan Brilliant into that. So I'm going to introduce some back in, because there's a little bit of yellow into this blue. And I want to bring that back into play. Right, so let that run through this lower part of the cloud where I've got it just a bit too dark in one or two places. And that's a nice thing. Although I haven't done anything to this all week, I have nonetheless been looking at it and appraising different parts of it to see where I wanted to go for you guys tonight more than anything else, which gives one an opportunity to assess what you've been doing. And Teresa, hi, good evening to you. I didn't see you creep in there, but good evening and thanks for joining. Yeah, so it does give me that chance to reassess the painting on a different level. When you paint plein air, or when you paint paint, and you're doing alla prima, or you have the luxury that you have the time to start and complete a work in one sitting, then of course you don't always give yourself the chance to look at the work and assess it. And so having sort of had this on the easel beside me in the office or in my studio here, where you see me right now, all week has been quite a delight, because it's given me that chance to appraise the whole thing. And anyway, it's all good. So I'm just going to creep on with some of these blues. That's lovely light against that there, and I just wanted to creep up the contrast in this area against this, the clouds overall, just to pump it up. Now I know the photograph is a little duller, but you've got to allow the fact that the photograph isn't as good as the painting could make it good. What I'm trying to say is the camera really cannot, it does lie, to be quite honest with you, and quite often we don't see the lies that it tells us. Just going to straighten that out. I may have to come back in on that. Just trying to straighten out the mast a little bit on that sail there. Got a little bit out of whack. And again, it's one of these sort of things that you look at it, you keep looking at it, and boy, you can actually do some much better work when you get to see some of these things. It's been glorious on the beach today because we've had a mix of cloud and sun all day long, and it's been wonderful to watch how the different effects of the clouds have on the beach, on the sea, and on the light on the shore. The sea at times was emerald green. I kid you not, that it was the greenest of beautiful greens that you can imagine. And then there was a shadow cast by a cloud right in front of it, which was a beautiful green violet. And these sort of values were changing and mixing, and it was awesome. Had so much time trying to render those. Those paintings will be offered on my £200 painting pledges. Now then, there's the thing. I can check it. No, I can't. I won't check it. But I was one person away from 10,000 followers on my Instagram. So if you're not a follower of mine on my Instagram, jump over there, and hopefully, if it's not already been taken, you could be the 10,000th follower on my Instagram. Doesn't get you anything, but it's just a nice thing for me to know somebody who become my 10,000th follower. So anyway, there you go. We've done well, because I used to have, about 2 years ago, I had about 7,000, just over 7,000 followers. And I got a little bit lazy with it and let it go, and sort of really didn't administer to it. And the thing about Instagram, for those who do it, it is quite a hungry animal. If you don't feed it, it will start losing followers. I don't know why they do that, but it just does. And because of that, I let it go, and I dropped from say 7,200, something like that. I can't exactly remember the right amount. And I dropped all the way down to just short of 49.50. And it's quite a big jump. And the more it went down, the more I became discouraged about it and just really didn't bother with it. Okay, let's just look at some violet blues in here. Going back into some, I have got my extra paint ready just to play around. Some greeny blues. And let's put some white to that. See where that takes us. So yeah, and since I've been doing this pledge offer, where people can buy some of my back catalogue and one or two of my latest images, then for very cheap money, in terms of their normal value, and their normal worth is quite considerably more than what they've been posted for. And we've crept back up to nearly 10,000. So it'd be nice when I look on there later to find one of you guys becoming my 10,000th follower. That's if you're inclined to. Right, just mixing up some other values into this sky now. And I'm looking at some of the grey values. There's a lot of different ones, and lights to darks. I made the sky a little heavier last week, and I don't know why I didn't really set out to make it heavier. I just did, and I'm not unhappy with that. Not a big deal. And I just did, and I just felt that it would be nice to come back in this week and just play around with one or two of the values before we finish the boat off. And then the most important thing, of course, untouched at the moment, is the sea. So I really want to play around with a few more sky values and a few more greys and purples and warms and cools that are going on in here before we conclude this part of the painting and move on to what's left to do. Just checked. You already hit the mark. Congratulations. Cheers. Well done. That's cool. Yeah, all of us doing our best to keep things weird. Working in school at the moment, as you know, we open the doors and windows in the place that's swarming with flies. It's quite disgusting. What you'd want to know, as you mentioned, fleas. Cheers, John. I am gonna enjoy thinking about that one later, mate. Rather you than I. But I hope you sort them out soon. Not a nice job, I'm sure, after all these months of being shut down. But it is the way. And lots of people are having to face back. My son's... my son is... he works for the RSPCB. I think I got that right. And he... it's sort of a starting job for him. He's very, very well qualified as a film lad. He creates film and video and does a lot of work like that, but it's all sort of a hopeful future for him. But and that's what his degree is in. But he works in the meantime, or he started working with the RSPB, selling membership to people. And that's fine. It's a great start, and at least it's work, and it's honest work and honest living until something firmer comes along that he really wants to do, and gets full support for that. But yeah, he started back today, and so I've yet to talk to him, but I'm sure he's sort of found that quite a difficult process as well, because there's all these restrictions moving forward that people have to observe, including them, and sort of talking to people and getting them interested in becoming members of this wonderful organisation for the protection of birds. But yeah, not easy. Everybody's sort of going back to work and finding the whole world has sort of changed. Reminds you of one of these films that we often see, about the future, day after tomorrow, all these things. People wake up in one situation, and by the end of the film or the end of that day, they've sort of come through and become embroiled in a completely new scenario in the world and in their lives, and have to face a future world totally different because of it. So it's quite interesting, really, the sort of parallels you can draw between one life and the other in terms of film. And yeah, how million miles away from the reality are some of these films, you have to ask. But there you go. That's the end of my bit of philosophy and debate tonight, I'm sure. And also I'm going to forget what I meant to be doing here. But yeah. Anyway. Well, I hope that all come from your flies, John. So I hope you got rid of them. And if not, I hope they're paying a good rent. They should be paying decent rent if they've had the run of the place for a few months. And I think that's important to make sure that they're charged. Now I'm just trying to liven up this sky a little bit. And there's lots of little orangey lights. And I was doing this today actually. In a very similar situation on the horizon line below the heavy cloud. And I was trying to put in these warmer lights in the distant clouds way off, you know, that were coming up and bubbling up, or indeed going away. I couldn't actually realise they seem to be going a different direction to the ground wind. Not too sure. But yes, so there we are. Trying to liven it up. And I was using this method today, which was working quite well. I seem to have lost a couple of people. I hope that's not me boring them to death. Is the Dungeness Reserve open now then? Yes, it is. It is open. The actual shop I don't think is open. The place where all the stuff is sold and the viewing place inside, that's I believe closed. Barnaby, I don't know quite what they expect him to do, but he is sort of trying to do his best and catch the people that come down there who are not members, who wish to become members and use the facilities. Although at this point in time no facilities exist to take advantage of. Just trimming that light down through there, which just isolates that cloud, that sail a bit more. Sorry guys. Been a long day, several paintings already done today, plein air of course, and they are actually over my shoulder at the moment. They're drying and they will take some time to dry because the paint on there, it was quite thickly placed. Is Judy here? Not here today? I haven't seen her name come up yet. I'd have thought she would have been ready and watching. Right, I might come back to this in a little while. I do need to press on with other things, but I don't want to lay my hands in all of this paint and stuff before I really need to. So that's why I've tried to get a little bit down in the sky before we push on. But I wanted to warm it up with a few warm values of orange and stuff coming in. I think it works very, very well into the blue for a kickoff, but also against the darks of the sails, albeit they're as warm in the sense as the sails. It just works nicely. So I'm just putting some marks in very softly, trying to make them more discreet and not hard. John, I'm sure we'll sort it. You mentioned films. I saw film Tiffin in lockdown about a coronavirus taking over the world. That was so much more dramatic than we got in. I'm sure you can. Yeah, absolutely. And who knows where the current situation is going to take us, John. There's sort of all sorts of talk going on, and I think talk can be dangerous as well. I mean, the news don't seem to have a complete handle on what's going on. Those reporting it, certainly, and those who create the reports to report. And I think there's a lot of misleading information out there that, what's going on and countries that are having more problems. I hear Australia is coming up in the rankings, which is really sad because they were doing so well. But how much of that is truth? How much of that is scaremongering? Who knows? I don't know. I don't know enough about it. And I've got to be honest, I'm not sort of watching all the news that one could watch. So I'm sort of missing quite a bit of it, in a sense. James, did that tube arrive today, my friend? I did send it on the weekend, so it should have arrived with you today, I hope. Just checking. Right, just one or two areas up here, just playing around with some of these values. Soften some of the marks. A few oranges, a few warm colours, just playing around with it. We can always come up here and rework some of this later on. Okay, well, say hi to Stuart for us, Jim. Nice that you could join us. Is he still with you? Is he watching this too? Or has he gone off to do some other things? But say hi, that'd be great. Just looking at that light going up the top there. Nice white puffy clouds. They don't want to be too bright because they're not, but they need to be white-ish against the sky. Now, if you don't want to take them too white, then darken down the blue. That will make them look even whiter than they are. And this is the thing, when you've got time to do and rework a painting like this, that you see so many new things, and you add to them, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But given the chance to rework the painting is great, because you're never quite sure where it's still going to end up, whether you're going to need a second or even a third session on it to get it where you want it to be. I'm going to bring a lighter value in through there. Let that join up with that. And do that. Hi Stuart, long time no chat, my man. Hope you're all well and your family. And actually, I haven't talked to your brother I haven't seen him in years. I hope he's doing all right. We had some good times down in Florida. I'm just losing the plot. But yeah, it's all good. All good. I'm not going to tell you, well, you probably know from stories that he's probably told where the places he used to take me, but we won't go there. Never to say, I won't forget them. Just mixing up some of these lovely colours. I just love the use of oranges and the Juin Brilliant against the blues and the violets in the sky. Just playing around with some of these colours. And, you know, again, it's the break of a week that's allowing me to feel a little bit more adventurous with this than I did before. And that's partly because I've done a lot of work on it already, and I'm able to have more time to play around with some of these colours and play around with the sky and build it even further than I would have been able to do in the first round of painting, as it were. So it's all good. Oh, that's good. I'm glad I gave them a lot of protection, James, so I'm glad they arrived in good order. Never quite sure what you're going to get when you send something like that with Royal Mail. Not necessarily knocking Royal Mail, but yeah, it's always good when something turns up as you expect it to. Now I'm just having a quick look through this body here, and I think I want to increase some light through here too. I want to make it a little scratchy, a little more organic in brush marks, so that they do what I want them to do in that sense and not become staid. Just like the energy that the clouds like this create when they're building and bubbling and moving through the area. Okay. Just gently bringing that in so it's not, oh, I didn't mean to have that, was on my finger. Not to worry. It becomes part of the clouds. Bring a little bit of orange into some of this here. Take some of the blue out, not too much, just a bit. So generally I am lightening the clouds quite a bit. If I keep doing this too long, you know, we're going into week 3 on this painting. I hope not. I'm sure that won't happen. But I'm enjoying sort of playing around with them. And it is a big sky, let's be honest. It is a big sky. So it does need to be painted with a bit of care, a bit of thought into it. But I love creating the colour changes in the cloud. And when I look to one of these clouds, I'm looking at sort of blues and all the yin yangs of complementary colour. Oranges, blues, reds, greens possibly. But mainly oranges, blues, and the shifts between one cloud bank in front of another, catching the sun here, not there, deep and dense, dark, menacing in other places. All these little factors when you're painting. I'm going to put a little bit of green, a little bit of red together. Just change a little bit of that in there. That takes me down to a dirtier, darker grey in 1 or 2 places. And on here as well, there's just that little bit darker, a bit more mix of the red, the green and the blue. A little bit too much blue, let's come back with a bit of green. Maybe try a little bit of Venetian red into that, which is cooler as a red, but it can take it too far. I think that did go a little too far. So keep mixing until you're about where you want it to be. And yeah, and that's not bad, I quite like that. But one area just comes across another one. You can see little bits of broken cloud that are drifting, breaking off and drifting across the face of a lighter one. Say, I know there's not too much there, but let's just do it here. A little bit of cloud that's breaking off and just drifting across in front of other clouds, and you get all these beautiful different forms and shapes. And there's no set way of them, because they will move on the currents of the wind, of course. So if a current updraft picks one up, it will move it and you'll see an unusual shape appear. And how many times have we all sat down and looked at a cloud and seen different shapes and different forms within that cloud itself? And it's just the way that it gets picked up and moved around by the air currents up there, and they're massive. It's quite amazing. We find that, as I said, I did say just now, we were flying drones yesterday, and you know, on the ground it was a little bit blowing, nothing serious, just a mild little breeze across the open landscape, the farmland. And the thing is that you, on the small drone especially, that it went up sort of 50 feet, 50 meters, sort of, I don't know, was it 100 feet, something like that, just over, just under. And you know, you start getting a little bit of buffeting, and you get little air warning, you know, that the air is getting a little bit much for the drone. And even my bigger drone still suffered the fact that it was getting up there and it was experiencing sort of extra wind, and the wind is very, very strong the higher you go. You don't notice it on the ground, you don't see it, you don't feel the effects, but nonetheless they are there. Just playing around with the last of this for the moment. It may be that if I feel tomorrow that I need to do more, then I will spend more time on the sky just perfecting it. I may not. But I don't think I can sort of keep on this all night, because you're all going to go to sleep and drift off and have your dinners and get something else done in your lives, and I couldn't blame you in the slightest. Okay, now then, no more chat, I'm going to have a quick drink. It's actually good because I'm looking at my photograph, which is like this one here you're watching, and against the sky, and although my sky is much more aggressive, it's not so subtle as the photograph. I actually like what my sky is doing. Now I think I just swapped brushes somehow, but we'll carry on. I just wanted to put a little bit of softness into some of this here. I was using this brush, I knew I'd swapped. Just taking some of that out, making that change a little more subtle through there. Now I'm not trying to recreate the sky exactly, and I'd be a fool to say I was doing that, because I'm not. All I want to do is suggest the moodiness and the variety that this sky was offering on the day. And I hope that's coming across. Anyway, we shall move on. Okay. Now then, let's look at the sea. Let's try and get some of this landform in, and to that, which is the first major sort of step forward on today's painting. Bit of orange and bit of green and a little bit of ultramarine blue. Testing the waters on the landform. It's sort of a darker greeny colour for the moment. I'm going to stick that in. Go around the boat if I can. Take the landform down as I feel it should be, and up to the top through there. Okay. It's quite turquoise, quite green at the moment, quite light. We're going to change some of those factors very shortly. I'm just going to come in with a little bit of lighter yellow up on the top there, and so that this detailed landmass, this peninsula, is picking up sunshine across the open fields. I'm just going to pull up the reference so I can see in a bit more detail what's going on. Bear with me. Okay. I don't want to get too detailed with this, but I would like to get something that resembles that on the photo. So I'm going to come in a bit more orange through there on this green, and lots of light coming down through to the shorelines in these fields, and a little bit of light over there to the end. Now it gets quite dark, but it's not as green as I'm showing it, so we'll come back in now with some ultramarine blue, a little burnt umber into that. I think I picked up a bit of black, so very little umber out, so I'm going to have to probably put some more out in a minute. A bit of red, a bit more blue, bit of green. Keep mixing until you're really where you want it to be. It's easier to mix on the palette than it is elsewhere and get it right. Coming in with a darker but dirtier green colour. That's a little bit too light. And this is where I maybe should have come in with a darker value to start with and work back the other way. Not a big deal. We'll handle it. A little bit of red into there. Way too much. Okay. Take that dark all the way into the boat, and this dark against the boat will really throw the boat out when it comes right down to it. Something like that. Maybe a bit more cooler blue, almost going into cobalt on the end here. Just make that a little duller, a little bluer along the foreshore and down into the sea where it will disappear. Just making it a little thicker through there so that when we put the sea in and create our horizon, that some of that, just a little touch of that, will show up. Put some more darks in and change some of that lighter green. And over on this side too. Okay. Yeah, I think you're right. I like where it's going, and I'm happy with what's happening, Wendy. So yeah, let's see how that goes, and I'm sure if I need to change it, I've got that opportunity. I'll bring a little light through there on this hill, and just change some of that, and take that this way a little bit. It's a little different too, because what I'm doing is I'm condensing a long hill that you can see in the photo into a very short space. So the reality is a little different, but this painting will still convey enough of what I want it to moving forward, so I don't feel unnecessarily worried about that. A little bit of light along the shore. Okay, leave it at that. Now let's look at the sea. I'm going to put the information. Trouble is, the poor old mouse does not like working on a shiny glass surface. There we are. Oh, wrong picture. Find the right one. There we go. So yes, it doesn't like it. So let's look at this sea. Now we've got some wonderful colours. I'm going to start off with some of this green, a little bit of orange, mix that together, and that gives us a very, very yucky green. Coming in with a lot of white now. Now we're cooling it down. Now we're making a difference. Now to one side I'm going to add a little bit more orange. And the orange and the green are working as like red and green would work, because they're very complementary to each other, so therefore they're having an effect on each other when you mix together. You can see, I don't know if you can see, yes you can see. You can see the difference on this side to the green and white mix predominantly, and here where I've added some orange in, you can see the effect of the orange, but it does kill off the green. So I'm just going to mix some of that together and put a little bit of fluid to it and start coming in with this lovely colour of the sea. I hope we got it about right. I'm being very careful that I don't lose my horizon line and take it where I don't want it to go. So if it means that I have got to bring the sky down a bit more, that's what I'll end up doing. So I don't want it to go higher than it should. Just going to come back in on the photo again. Yeah, it does just creep over the back there, so let's just put that in. So let's just make sure we're about right on that line. I think I can still see my line, so I think that move is about correct. Like so. And you can see a little bit through here, so if I took that line through, you can see a little something through there. And let's go into this side. It might need a bit of tidying up. This is always where you've got to be a lot more careful. A little line through there, take that up to there, and this is going to disappear a little bit more than I thought or was expecting. I'll take that line through. It may be that I bring the sky down just a bit. Just so that I don't have to creep this up. This is going up against here and I don't want that, so I might have to just tailor that down a bit more so that it works. But I'm quite happy with the colour, and the placing of that orange in there was a good one. I'll take that all the way along there. I'm trying to be a little careful, but again I can still run colour in the other way to create the lines that I'm looking for. And this horizon is going to be a little higher than this is coming round into a bay, so it's going to be a little different. Going to add a little bit of violet blue, some of this colour that I've had mixed up, and bring that into some of the sea here. So we're mixing the two areas together. We've got a lovely green, we've got a lovely blue. They do work very, very well. Just mixing it up ever so softly. So we've got two values, the greens and the blues, and also the oranges. Now the little bit of orange in the green reacts beautifully with the blues. All very, very good moving forward, I hope anyway. Just checking our stuff. Maybe I just want to put a bit of that blue coming across this way. Keep that nice and clean on the stern. And coming into this part of the boat here. Now I do need to be careful. Nice shape. If you are not quite in line, if your line runs off a little bit, it's not the end of the world. The water is moving, it's lapping down the side, so you can do this. You can make the water rise and fall, and it comes up to that running board and then gives rise to the fact that that is in the water, so you get a slight differential. Bring it back up here. You can change that to, it's got quite a bit of a warmness. Bring some of that red, some of that Indian red into this green, because that's being affected in the sail. Take that through and then come back to the other green again, just to finish that line off to the stern, like so, and in like that. Okay. I'm keeping it quite light for the moment, very pale. Put a little bit of violet into there as well, a little bit of white, a bit of violet into some of the lights into the sea here at this point. Now I'm not doing one straight colour, I'm really trying to mix it up. I'm looking at some of the waves, and as I said to you last week, that this canvas can be a little bit of a bugger when it comes to covering up some of the weave. Just be aware of that, and you may have to sometimes work a little harder to get it where you want it. A little bit of orange coming into some of this works beautifully with the blues and all the other values that we've been putting in here, and a little bit of orange, a little stronger orange value into some of this here, where we've got the shadow created by the sail at this point. It should be a bit dirtier. I'm going to put a little bit of naphthalene red into that mix. That's gone way too pinky coloured. We're coming back with a bit of green to neutralise the red. So we put green in, and now we can look into making this area just a little darker, a little different to the rest of it, and that we can see. But again, I'm not being absolutely full on the shape. I'm changing everything as I go, so it's just a little bit of definition, a little bit on the back here to represent a bit discoloration in the water from the other sail at this point. Obviously not as big, not as much, not as dramatic, and not too much here, believe it or not. I thought there'd be more, but I think what's happening here is that it's moving along here, down and away like so. We'll see, and I think it's nice as it is. That's a good point, Teresa, and thanks for that, much appreciated. It's something that we haven't done before, and it may be something that we can repeat once in a while. The trouble is with everything, that some people love to see these things, like you've just suggested, to see a painting developed over a couple of weeks, even 3 possibly, and other people really don't like that format. and will move away. So it's a case of trying to please as many people as possible and not alienating everybody. So it's, I think basically what we do is, if this is well received, we can create another one another time, a little further down, so everybody benefits and everybody gets a little bit of what they want. I'm just going to bring that little trail of water through there, and that just really quite makes that. It's quite nice. Bramley, well, at least you made it, mate, and thanks for joining. Good that you're here. So I'm going to put a little bit of blue in, and I want to suggest, let's see if I can move in on that a little bit more. Little boat at the back here. Just want to put in a little suggestion of the hull, and like so, and no more. Don't really need to do any more. I put a little bit of blue light in on this board. It's a bit too light, so I'm going to go back in. I'm not going to try it, well, we'll work it in. I'm not going to try and rub it off, just going to work it in. Just wanted it a little paler than I had, and I've got dirty hands, so that really isn't helping. I just want to take that down. There where it touches the water. And just a little bit of cool on the front end of the bow. So James, you know my love of these vessels. How are you getting on with your pile of all that? I hope you've made some progress on that, because that is really exciting. Just putting in the sail. Take that round a little bit. I don't like that. Take that away. May have to do a slight repair to the sky, but I quite like that coming around that way. And a little bit on the foresail, like so. So we've got a vessel that's going away. Adds a complement to the vessel in the foreground, and we've got a nice one with a little punch of red on it to the left. So we'll work with that too. So where are we? Just want to see and chop into some of this. It wasn't just meant to be one line. I'll come back in with a bit of blue, a little bit of the red, not too much, a little bit more than that, there you go, and a lovely definite shadow off the back of the bow, back of the stern. What am I on about? Just one or two darks into the water and let it break up as it goes away. Okay, that'll do. When you clean your brush out, if you use Zesta or any oil-based brush cleaner, then what you must be aware of, that when you clean out in the oil, which I'm now doing, I'm going to keep that out of the way of the painting. You've got a lot of wet on this brush. You can probably, if I can get that up close to a camera, no, it's not going to work. But it's very oily, very wet. So it's no good just doing a bit of this and then going into your next mix of colour. Because what will happen is that in the roots, the oil will sit. And as you turn your brush down and start mixing, so any residue of oil will start to travel down the filaments of the brush. They will then join the paint that you're mixing, and they will create a much wetter mix than you planned. And therefore, and I've done it here, it's easily done. If you're not careful enough with your mixes, you can end up creating a bit of a slick for yourself and a bit of a problem to boot. I'm just going to bring some of that into there and just mix up and lose some of that trial. That's fine. Coming on down now with some, maybe a little bit more orange, one or two places. A little bit of that Joan Brilliant too into the bottom part of this, just to play around with some yellows into this green. And coming across, I'm going to take the picture back down now because I can get an overall view of what I'm looking at. A bit of orange, bit of Joan. And let's, I'm probably saying that ever so wrong, so I'm not French. If Bridget was here, she'd probably turn around and tell me off. But anyway, I'm getting away with it for the moment. Come back with a bit of the cooler green. And this yin yang green, warm, cool, lovely. I love it. I love what it's doing. Just filling in some of that weave on the canvas. I love this canvas to death, I've got to say, but it can muck you about when it comes to good coverage. You just sometimes have to work a little bit harder to drive the paint down into the weave. It's quite a coarse weave, and yeah, it's just worth remembering that if you use a linen canvas, certainly the ones that are available to us in the UK. I don't know what those are like in the US. I don't think I've ever procured any in the US when I've been out there. I'm loving this painting, I've got to say. But then I love Thames barges, so... Oh, really? Okay, well, yeah. I would ask Catherine, but she's probably out there. She plays with the fox in the evenings. We've got a tame fox vixen that visits us, and he doesn't. I mean, she sees me, she's gone, out. But Catherine sits with her and throws her the odd bit of tidbit and helps her with her cubs and what have you, and it's just nice. She's got some wonderful photographs where she just sits, not with a big phone, not with a big camera, because that will put the fox off, but certainly with her phone she just sits there and takes little shots of it, and it tolerates her, and it's just a nice little relationship they got going on. It's really quite sweet. A bit of orange into some of these other colours of blues and greens. Just want to darken some of this area in here just a bit more than I've got it. Don't overdo it, but I do want it to be a little darker. So I'm using the grey values of orange and blue, that's creating this sort of greeny grey colour in here, to give me this dark up to the boat, and suggesting a little bit of the colouring of the sail in the water. Not much, just a little bit, just a little darker would be good. Looking at it right the way up to the boat pretty much. You think you've got one colour going in, and when you look really hard you can see that it's quite another colour. And just running some of that in different places so that it is mixed up with the greens, and so again you get some beautiful yin-yang effects. I say yin-yang, I hope you understand what I mean, I'm sure you do. But you know, you got the lovely push and pull of reds and greens and blues and oranges, and they all make for these wonderful colour statements that you can see in this painting. At least I hope you can. I just love it. I just love playing around with this sort of complementary mixes. Coming all the way down to the foreground. There's a big old sail. Almost sitting there in the water. Beautiful. Really having some fun with this, gotta say. Okay, now I'm going to keep some of that mix back because I want to use that as some of the little waves in the water itself. A few coats of sand and... Yes, that's true enough. The thing about using too much substance like that on a canvas, because of the flexibility of the canvas, if you get it too brittle, then the coating you put on can crack. So just be aware of that. Golden's obviously, it's an acrylic, and from that point of view, No, I know. I appreciate that, Ben. I just like what's happening with it, but I will be working in and out with the greens, mate. Yeah, so the just be aware of mixing too many hard objects, as it were, like sands and fillers, into an acrylic compound, because although it's a flexible compound, it can go against you if you're not careful. Just too much of it can work against you. Alright, let's bring that up to there, and let's just play around with the greens against the reds. More of a suggestion, and let's take this all the way down over here. Let's give a finish to this side, right the way to the bottom. I've still got to tidy up this horizon line. I just want this a little higher, maybe. Horizon lines can be a real pain to get them about where you want them, especially if you're not using a straight edge. Okay, we're going to look back at that in a moment and see if we need to do a lot more to that. Probably will. Okay. Yeah, the photo does show it a lot more slender, and I think that's just the movement on the water, Ben. I quite like what this is doing, if I'm honest. I like the wider look to my reflection. Almost a sense that there's more reflection because I'm painting maybe water that's a little more still. If the water, if I put a lot of ripple or a lot of movement in the water, then of course I think that you'll see a difference in the amount of that reflection that you actually do get to see. And I think that is why I think there's more movement in the water in the photo than I have actually painted so far in my rendering. But we'll look at it and we'll get closer to it, I'm sure, before we finish. Putting in a little bit of, there we go. Here's the thing, isn't it always a case that when you've changing the subject completely, I'm sorry, but isn't it a case that, you know, when you have a dentist appointment, how nothing's wrong with your teeth until 2 days or a day before your dental appointment, and then they erupt? Or you're not worried about your teeth, nothing wrong with your teeth, and then you get a letter through that because of COVID, that my appointment for my checkup has been postponed until March, end of March 2021. All of a sudden, my teeth start erupting. What's that about? If you know the answer to that, let me know. All good fun. Right. Just carrying on. Just really just blocking this in now. Just trying to get the surface pretty much covered while we still got enough material to get it covered in. And then I'll start to refine one or two of the shapes as we go forward. Hopefully this painting will be good and I'll enjoy posting it. Be good to see it on Instagram, get a reaction to it. Now, if one or two bits of canvas, because it's a linen canvas, if they show through, it's not the end of the world really, not a big deal, just what it is. Just just going to put in a few yellowish bits coming into here, just to put a bit of light onto the water. And I like doing these sort of downward strokes a little bit when I'm painting water like this. Something to me, and I'm sure it's not, but it's just something almost like an impressionistic view of the situation, and I really quite like what that does. And then it tends to work very, very well when you come the other way with horizontal strokes that are suggestive of ripples. That works very well too. So yeah, I mean, that's what I like to do. Now I need to put a straight edge on this and just really check where I'm at with this. And I've got to be very careful what I do now. Just making sure it is a straight edge. Do you know, it doesn't look that far off. It really doesn't. I'm just going to put that there very carefully, not moving it. Just put a mark there, and let's just hope that we are a little bit higher that side to this side. So in a sense I ought to be bringing down this part here, hadn't I? Or probably leaving well alone, if I'm truthful. I'm quiet because I'm concentrating. Okay, I'm going to bring a little bit of the sky down just to tally out with the sea. So I've just got to remix a little bit of paint just very, very quickly. A bit of red, not too much, a bit more white. I think that's a little bit too violet to where I need it to be. Let's come in with some more blue, probably not that much. Test it. I'm not going to say the obvious. Test what I did, didn't I? Test the waters. That's not what I meant to do. Let's try and blend that back in. That's a bit closer. It's a little bit too violet. And come in with a bit of that. Play around because getting this colour is quite important. A little bit of green to it. Might bring it back into control. So it's got a little bit of violet there. Just gently ease that off so it doesn't become a problem. That's probably the colour that I was needing. Just going to take that down on the edge of that sea on the horizon. Wasn't a bad remix, quite happy with that. Got closer than I thought I got it. Now this really, because of that, this just looks too high. I don't know. I'm going to try and bring some of that down, rightly or wrongly, and then just test it again. Lighter colour just to blend the two together. Take that down. Just testing it once again. Making double short. Yeah, that you don't want to do. But it's not perfect, but it's not bad, so I'm going to live with that. What I will do is that's fine, but this I could just marry those two areas just a little bit more, so there's not an indication that it's very different. A little bit of yellow to come back the other way, and a little bit of pinky yellow then. Not like that, that's way too much. Just a little bit suggests some, oh no. Orange then. Come on. Just playing around with a few of these values just to blend in a little bit more. I've got a little bit green in there and I was just trying to lose that. You may not be able to see it so much, but I could hear. I didn't like that. So I was just playing around with that a little bit more. Find some of that original colour with the reds, oranges, just to these little touches of oranges and blues that really work quite well together. Okay, I'm going to leave that because if I keep on, I'm going to wish I hadn't. Just having a drink. How are we doing for time? Hour and 12. Not bad. Okay, so we've pretty much got our sky in. And I will just put some deeper dark colours into here. A bit more blue. Just checking it. A bit more red, a bit more orange into that colour. Deepen it down, make it warmer. I think it needs a bit more green too. Just keep playing around until you're about where it should be. Right, now we can start playing with some of these other values. Some of these lovely little areas that are creating the ripples. And for this I use little jerks, little sideward movements with a good sharp edge of a flat brush. And you will start getting some of those ripple lines working across. Some of them will be darker, some of them will be lighter. And you can use obviously the reference from the photo to decide where it should be. Now that I didn't enjoy doing. That's that area up, so I'm going to have to clean the brush. Just come back in with some of that green into there. This is the trouble working on the flat. When you're using Zest-It to clean, you're dragging some of that across and into your painting. Sometimes it's just dropping, there's just too much on the brush. So watch that. It doesn't happen when you're working on an upright situation on the easel. I don't want to make these regular, I just want to make them random, and so we get some ripple moving on top of this water. They get a bit more green and bluish in one side, over on one side. That's a little bit more of that. I've got to say, this green that I've been using, this cobalt turquoise, is just the best stuff. I love it. I'm just going to put in a few denser ones working through a passage of the water this side. Now you can see I'm dragging my hands on this little bar that I've got here. It's merely a rest. I could use a mole stick just in the same way and achieve the same outcome pretty much. It's just that I don't need to get too... I'm sorry about the noise it's making, but the thing is that it really does help to save you pressing down in any area too much and depositing paint in such a large quantity or in the wrong place. That really is a worthwhile thing to bear in mind. A bit of orange into that colour too. No more comments, okay. I love this part of it because the whole painting now is really starting to come together. Subtle changes of colour. We've already got the background colour to the water, so we're good with that. We can bring these colours, as long as we get these about right, we're certainly well on our way. So I'm making them a little bit more greenish and orange as they come forward. Blend them in together so you get not a sudden change of colour, but then just make them the colour you need them to be as they come through. And a little bit bigger and a little bit wider space as they get closer to you. Try and keep all your brush strokes in this fashion. Water doesn't go uphill. The more you mix the brush into the mix you've already got, the paler it will become, because obviously you're depositing little bits of the light green in its place. You pick that up on the brush and so you deposit. In the same way, if you've got this wet underneath, let me describe this. If you get a nice line in here, the next time I touch that, even with dark on the brush, what will happen is I can lose that colour with the colour underneath. Sorry, I didn't mean that to happen like that. But it will just pick it up and it will lose it because it just wants to mix with all the colours underneath. Alright, so let's just sweep some of that in. So that we get a nice flow to the reflection and the water creeping into it. Ben, question for you, my mate. Did you still want that one-to-one you spoke about? I hadn't talked to you about it, and I didn't want you to think that I'd completely forgotten. Catherine reminded me that I hadn't spoken to you about it, and I didn't know if it's something you still wanted or was waiting up for a little bit on it. Not a problem either way, just let me know. But I know you mentioned it a couple of 3 weeks ago, I think. And put a bit more depth into some of these in here as we come into the foreground. Maybe a bit longer, a little bit deeper. Making some of those greens come through this reflection too. Orangey greens, little orangey bluey greens if anything, just to shift away from the redness and give it a little bit of other value, colour value accents. Okay mate, not a problem. Well, I'm in the gallery at 10 tomorrow, so if you can call me before if you can, not worry if you can't, doesn't have to be tomorrow, but talk to you about it before I start teaching class, which will be at 2 o'clock. Nearly forgot. So yeah, give me a call and we make a plan, mate. Okay, just one or two areas in here, and starting to sort of slow down the transitions and changes within the painting, become smaller and less, but hopefully make big statements overall. Come back into some of these marks. Maybe a shade or two more dense through here. They're not going uphill. That's better. Maybe a bit more blue, a bit more green to one or two of these. Some of them are going to be darker too, because they're a little deeper as they come closer, a little bit more defined, and catching a bit more shade against the light source. Okay, a bit more information through the centre here, a little bit vague in places. Leave that for a moment, see how it looks, and then we'll just work on this side. We want them to be about the same. Put a little more orange in one or two of them. And mix it up with that trail too. And always, if you go too far with any of these, you can always come back in, remix some of that green up, and just come over one or two of the marks. If you're firm with it and not keep going at it, then of course you will get away with it. If you start playing around with some of these marks and keep working over the same area, then you're going to bleed it together. It's just going to want to mix up, and you're going to lose the benefit of that. So try, and if you're going to repair or come back in on a certain area, then just make the statements one stroke, as it were, very firm statements. It wasn't a particularly rough day at all, as you can see. It just threatened it with the clouds, and I think later on it did come down, but it really was a wonderful day out on the water, and I do believe the next one is imminent. I'm talking about in the next week or so. I do need to contact a couple of people and see if I am free enough to get out on the boats after all this time. I haven't been out with Bluey for years, and hopefully he's still marshalling, and hopefully he might say yes. I must give him a call. great. But if any of you watching happen to own a Thames barge and are going to be racing it and want somebody who can sit on board and look silly while everyone goes about their job, give me a call. I'm your candidate. I'll be your man. That'd be nice. Alright. Taking some darks out through and just looking at that stern colour. There's a lot of orange in there which I've missed. I'm going to put in a little bit around there and there. Just tapping some in. Just going to bring the picture back up again a little bit so I can see what's going on. Yeah, I think it's just a little bit warmer under there than I've got it. Just marrying some of these areas together, just taking a closer look at the vessel itself and how that shape is warmed up through there. Need to put in a little bit more than I have. Right up to the bow there. That's not a lot, and I will want to come back in just to take that bit off. It's just a little bit, and I've gone a little too far if I'm honest. So let's try and come back from there a little bit, put some of that green and lose a bit of that orange. I think that works. I think we've just about made that. Now I will just use a bit of white spray on the lead edge of the boat there and on there, just dragging a little bit of neat titanium white to create the little bit of spray that's running along the edge of the boat there. A little bit too much, get away, there you go. There's not any at this point, I just felt that it needed it. Don't worry, a little bit of trail of water where that's dragging through on that board. And I want to bring that, just tidying up that area there into there, like so. Now I'm going to come into this boat in a minute, but I want to just look at the overall image of this one and make sure that we got some lines in, some little dark lines that represent lines from the mast. Now, lots of ways of doing this, and one is just to go for it and be bold, and hopefully I don't mess this up. I'm just going to suggest line. It's not happening at the minute. Maybe I don't want to get too wet with the paint. You might think to make paint move you need to make it more fluid. That really isn't the case. I'm going to put that down. I really am going to take my time and look for a rigger that's not suffered at my hands too much. That one will do the job, I hope. And another way of doing it, and lots of people do this, why they call this a rigger, is they can do something like that and they can just run a line down like so. Now I don't want these to be big dark marks. Like that, just got a little too heavy and went off the edge, so let's get rid of that out of the sky. And repair where we need to, if we need to. So it can happen. You just got to be a little bit careful and keep this edge away and clean. The other way to do it is just look at this. This is what happens if you're not careful. let's take that, get a fresh piece of paper. Bit of a repair to do in that sail now. I'm going to use this as a mole stick this time and just start suggesting a line that's coming down this way. You don't have to be absolutely precise, that's the thing. The little spark comes off it there. Starting to put a little bit more detail into the rigging, the boat itself. By the time I finish, this little brush will probably be quite wrecked. Top of that mast is a little bit scruffy, but I think with the cleats that hold the sail running up the bars on, I don't think it's too far out. We can bring that down and that will come down so far. There are cables coming this way, cables coming down that way, there's cables coming everywhere. Need to straighten up the front of that mast a little bit. There's a cable that comes up and runs up the face there. There's quite a bit going on. I can't quite make out. There is another boat that's behind this, and that's what's been throwing the issue. I'm going to darken that down there. And that obviously pulls into the front here. And then we've got white sail laying over there, which is a spinnaker, I guess. And a little bit of information on the front, and then we've got the anchor, like so. Very traditional look, and I'm going to start putting one or two bits of deck information on. Now I'm not going to fully rig this out. I've no intention of doing all the myriad of cables and lines coming from this. There's just no point. I'm just suggesting. Great big one that comes off the back of this spar, and check where it's coming to. Try and be a little bit like so and get it coming down roughly where it should be. Always helps. And we got the line on this one, and it's just going to get a dark edge to that, and that's got support cable, rope, line, whatever, and off at the back here. Now, something about these, I'm not sure, but there's something about the way these are hooked up on the back end to the rudder. I'm not quite sure what it's all about there. Someone did tell me. I raise it up there. I think I painted that out when I did the sky, which was wrong. I should have double checked what was needed. A little bit of lovely light timber on the side of the back there. Put that in. And where are we? Checking that, have I missed anybody on the stream? I don't think so. I'm going to come in and repair down here with a bit of deep red colour just to put that back. Where I rubbed that blue paint off, it just took the other paint off. It's almost dry. That's the thing, it's not quite dry. Never rely on a painting to be totally dry in oil for quite a while. This has been sitting in the warmth for a week, and you saw that the painting let go, or the paint let go of the canvas under a bit of pressure of rubbing. So just be mindful of that with your own work. I think that's repaired it quite well. It's not a problem. Now there are lots of, I'm just going to pull in again just to get, oh, I should have gone in a bit clearer, a little bit closer, hang on. Bear with me. There we go. Let's just come in and get a bit more detail on what's happening on here, because there's some little bits of line that are hanging down off of there, and there is sort of shadows of other lines coming around on the rigging, like so, on the sail, sorry. There are some beautiful shadows of line coming through here, all adding to the whole thing. A little bit of dark coming through there, and then of course you've got light into there. There's a bit of dark there underneath that ridge where that's against that pole, and little cables, lines. Some of these are actual cables and some of these are not. A little bit of light on some of these coming across, like so. Little taps of light where I suppose metal objects on the rigging itself sort of go up, and yeah, I'm not quite sure really, but it looks good. I'm going to put a little white top to this here, and I need to put in a bit of yellowish colour that is a little bit of orange to that yellow, a little bit too yellow, and let that come down, become this part here of the mast, the bottom part of the mast. So I'm just coming down quite gently to create this, the mast coming down, and I'm quite happy with that. So always can do something a bit more, but I think that's fine. Now, as I said, the mast is split into two and is hoisted up. The top one will be lowered down after the boat comes to finish the day's work. In the short term, they are together and create the whole thing. Yeah, there's a line that comes down there. There's so many lines, unbelievable, so many lines. No idea how some of these guys can. You can imagine this thing used to be worked by one man and his son, or a couple of guys, or whatever it was. Such a small crew. And yeah, I'm just in danger of getting just too much detail going, and I don't really want it. I'm honest with you. I'm happy with the fact that we've got a little bit and not too much. I'm putting a little dark down the side of that board. Okay. Just going to bring that picture down, just looking at the top of the vessel. again we've got some one or two lines emanating from the top here. And of course that has to be attached to there, and that is pulling a pleat into the back end of that sail. So I'll put that in. Create the illusion that it's pulling on it. There are others coming down through there. Just want to suggest those. A little bit more dark coming up into the top of that pole. And this is all the I's and the T's now. This is really where this is going, all I's and T's. Quite a dark pole that I don't want to send that up to there. And then we've got the light of this sail, which I just want to come back in on. A little bit of red, a little bit of white, a little bit of very pale colour, just to suggest that catching the light on that sail there. Didn't really want to go and do that. Means I've just got to go back in. Too much wet getting in from mixing some of this paint. So I'm just going to come back in and tidy this section up in here. There you go. So suggest that sail is catching the light and lapping over the one underneath. Let's see if I need to put in just the faintest extra line coming down here against this, where the sail is really pulling quite tightly over that pole that runs up. An extra pull on there is just creating an extra bit of light into that one there. And we are getting home and dry. At least I'm getting dry. Sorry, I digress. I'm going to put in the top of this mast, which extends just above that top of that sail. Being very delicate with this now. So can't quite make out the flag or the colour, but it is a darker value. It's extended out higher there and off of there. Now you see that is a classic example. You see that little blob, that's where I didn't clean the brush properly, and the consequence was that oil ran down the bristles and to mix with the paint, and so much so that it left a glob of paint, which is not really good. Okay, that's the top done. A little bit of dark at the very top of the mast. I've got to say I've gone into an awful lot more detail on this painting than I would normally ever do. But I've got to also say that I've really enjoyed that process too. A little bit of dark off of there. Clean my brush thoroughly this time. It's just a small fragment of white on the tip of there. A little bit of white band that I can see across the top of that. There, done it again, look at that. Really do have to pay attention to what that oil is doing, because it will just cause you a real headache. Now I just need to maybe concentrate on just doing some of these sides again. Just going to come in on this one and just foam it up. Nice little pinky white catching the sun, catching the light, and foam this one up here. And let's put some figures in. Boat's no good without its crew. So they're pretty much all dark figures, so we're just going to put in, and look at the sizes of them against everything else. Just put in one or two shapes in here, and one maybe here, somebody here moving around. And somebody on the wheel, and I think I actually painted the wheel out, so let's put that wheel back in whilst the ship's got no way of steering. And I think there's a chappie, obviously, is operating that and steering the vessel and making it go in the right way. Shape down through the back there. Checking the shape of the rudder there has got a little bit awry. There's the boat, that's what it was. I couldn't figure it out until I just brought this up. I couldn't figure out what that extra lump was there. This is the tender that is on the back of all these boats. They all have a little tender, a little rig, so that when they're moored up in an estuary they can get ashore, and they're always tied up at a berth. So that's what that is. So I'm going to put that in. It's not a lot of detail on it, but oh god, if I do it once, I'm doing it all the time now. Keep doing it. Look how many times I've done that. Alright, so there's a bit of a repair process to go on in there. And one or two taps up in here. Just lift off. That is a real pain. You just, you know, as I say, if I was doing this on an easel, standing up at the easel as I would normally do, then I've got to say that it wouldn't be happening. Because it wouldn't. It's because I'm not paying attention, because I don't normally need to worry about all that, that it's happening. So you just need to take that and be advised by it, and yeah, just watch it. There's little white cleats. These are one hanging down off of there. A little bit of light on the end of that pole. There is a subdued blue line that runs round. Where this is quite bright here, there's a subdued light one down there and there. I'm going to put that in. I've got to be careful now because I've touched that darn white paint again, that zest it again. Just want to suggest I should have left that alone, I don't know. Just going to come back in and tidy that back up. There you go. Lots of messages coming, I don't know what that's all about. Okay, so let's just put some faces to a couple of these chappies. Let's give one an arm and a head. And that one's got a little bit of light jumper on. Let's just give him a light jumper. Maybe that one's away from us. This one's got something written on his back. I don't know what it is, but let's give him a face. He's looking this way a little bit. Nothing drastic, nothing too much. Just watch your figures, make them look a bit human if you can. And give one a bit of a different colour, a little bit of maybe a bit of that green going in on him. And there's a couple of little boys or fenders or tenders or something that are up there. Oh dear Lord. I'm sorry guys, I keep doing it. Can't even take my own advice. Crazy, but there you go. If I don't watch it, I pay the penalty. You'll do the same if you don't watch it either. I'm going to put that little circle of safety in there. A little bit of light. I think there's another one actually just underneath there, so I'm just going to just suggest that one. Alright, let's just go back to our other vessel. Now this has got a lovely bit of white and deeper blue, so let's go in with a deeper blue just to put this one in. Now I'm staying with the rigger in my hand, it's there, I may as well use it. Those who know how I paint know very well that I tend to use, if I pick a rigger out I forget to put the darn thing down. But not a problem, just get this in. Like so. A nice white force front sail on this. Put that in. Now that's gone a little bit pink, and that really quite works because the pink works and reacts with the green. That's good. Where are we? John. What am I missing? John. Judy, you and me both. Okay, I've missed quite a bit of this text, I think. Let me just catch up with the chat because I think I've missed quite a bit. Side, yeah, a few coats of sand, just photo there. I've got to go, Paul. So sorry. I'll catch up tomorrow for what it's worth. This is an outstanding painting, so enjoyable. Follow along with you. Thanks, James, if you're still there. Judy, hi. Sorry you're late. Well, I'm glad you came. That's cool. Good evening, everybody else. Hi, Judy. Hi, Judy. Judy looking good. Paul, thank you very much. Steve, hi from Bell River, Ontario. Just stumbled over this a few moments ago. Very nice picture. Thank you very much, Steve, for joining. And hopefully it won't be the last time we see you on the chat. Judy, Steve, in case you don't know, this is the Thames Barge. Thanks, Judith. I'm an expat, so I've seen pictures of them before, but never seen one for real. Okay, it's all cool. Blimey, what a hectic night. I'm back for a short time now. I may get called yet again. Yeah, all good. Stay a while and breathe, John. Yeah, all good, people. That's fine. Just making sure I hadn't missed anybody. I didn't want to be rude. Right, let's just put a little bit of light into there. I've done it yet again. When will I darn well learn? Right, let's just take that side down. Let's got a nice deep red there. I'm going to put that in. Really adds to the painting. There's a bit of darker red into that. So let's just come in with some magenta now, just to finish that off there. It's got a lovely shadow of blues as it's pulling on the sail. Let's just try and put that in. Lovely little highlight on the front of the vessel, just about there. Trying to put that in. Didn't do too well. Let's try it again. Okay, that's fine. Now I just want to look at some of that green behind it, because I want to bring that into there to break up the edge and the back of this boat, like so, and shorten it down to a thinner point here. And I'm going to put in, as a final touch on the boat, I think, just a little dark area there, and that suggests that there are figures and other things going on the shape, like that. A harder edge on the back. Okay, I quite like what that's done. I wanted to put in one or two suggestive areas of light and buildings over on the foreshore of there's a big old town or something going on over here. I just want to suggest that it's more than just a piece of grass, as it were. Just one or two areas of buildings and taps of light and stuff in there. Maybe one or two just up here. Just looking at it now as we speak to see what else needs doing. There are several. When you pull this out, you can actually see quite a bit of something way over in the distance. Just little taps of something that's going on right on the horizon over there. Just to almost just tap off the information. Let's come back to the whole picture again for just a second and have a glug, because I need one. William, thank you so much for joining us. If I haven't missed you, I didn't see you come up then, but thank you for watching, and I do hope to see you again. Don't forget, if you're not a regular and have just joined the stream, that we run, or I run a stream every Monday and every Friday at 7 p.m. London time, so that you can get to see an oil one part of the week and a watercolor at the other end of the week. So to that end, I hope you join us again. And I think there's one or two little touches that I want to put in. Just on here, there's that sail, the spinnaker that's laying over. Put that in. And I think we're done. I really do. And I'm glad we're on 2 hours, so hey ho, good stuff. I'm going to put that brush down for a minute. I'm just going to look at it. I think what I will do, so that I know I've done it, is I'm just going to sign it down in here. There you go. Signed. Done. Sorted. I quite enjoyed this. I've enjoyed the painting. I've enjoyed the 2 weeks at it. And I think it's been worth that extra instead of trying to leave it at once. I'm still looking at the sky, but I quite like where it's at. And I don't really feel I could brighten up these puffy bits up the top here. But if I think I do that, then I'm going to drag your eye from here to here. And I don't really want to do that. So I'm going to probably leave things here as they are. If I change mine, I can change it. That's not a problem. I can do that. But I just feel that we've got a lovely painting. We've got a lovely sense of the openness of the sea and these wonderful vessels. And it won't be the last one I paint. It's simple as that. Thank you, Leora. Thank you so much for your contribution as well. It all helps keep things flowing. And that's very, very kind of you, very generous of you to help with the extra support. Yeah, Michael, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. But yeah, as I say, it's been one of those. I've enjoyed it, and it won't be the last Thames Barge that I paint. I want to paint one called Edith May next. This one is Orinoco, and we will work our way through them eventually. The other one that I did paint was Reminder with the white hull, and I might do an oil of that sometime as well. But we'll see what happens. Thank you very much, Steve. I hope you do. I hope you join us, and I hope you've enjoyed this one. It's been worth it. The sky, excellent. I've enjoyed this, albeit briefly. Wish I'd seen more. I can replay it. Yes, of course, you can always watch me on Dave as of tomorrow. I'm just looking at the horizon. It's probably okay. I'm going to have a closer look at that. If anything, it might be that the horizon might need another little bit of but we'll see. Brownlee, what a brilliant painting. Absolutely love it, Paul. Thanks again for another excellent evening. Brownlee, thank you very much for joining us. I've enjoyed everybody's company and everybody's support. It's been fantastic, and long may it continue. And as Wendy said earlier, I've just broken the 10,000 followers on Instagram, which is absolutely fantastic. And I think everybody who follows me on Instagram, that's great. I don't know how I'm going to celebrate that yet. Probably with a Guinness in a minute. There you go. Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate it. I've really enjoyed it, and I've got to say, I don't know if it is or it isn't, but it's got to be ranking on one of the best Thames Barge paintings I've done. And yeah. I'm saying that honestly. I'm not just saying it because of you guys sitting here watching. I really have enjoyed it. I know all the paintings I've done of Thames barges in the past. There is one stunning watercolour I did a few years ago for a client, which I still remark as one of my best. But this really is close up there with them, and I just love what it's done. I love what's happened with it, and really appreciate what I've done in the treatment of it. And it's great. So yeah, I'm not piping my own cool, but I had fun. Yeah, you're right. There was a storm brewing. Well, it was coming up, but it did come on later. I know it did from the photos and that I remember of the evening. Cheers, Ben. I'm glad you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed making this painting, and yeah, we will do more. As for what I'm going to do in watercolor on Friday, right now I have absolutely no idea, but we will do something in watercolor. Actually, I do know what it's going to be. I can tell you what it's going to be on Friday. I can't say exactly what it's going to be, but it's going to be Sissinghurst. I had been badgered by my wife to paint a Sissinghurst picture for you guys for weeks, so she will get her way and I will paint a picture of Sissinghurst. So that'll all be good, and we'll see what happens with that. Derek, thank you very much, mate. Appreciate your support and your coming in and watching. Yeah, I think it is, Wendy. I really do. Stuart and I enjoyed your painting. Cheers. Yeah, Jim, thank you so much, mate. And Stuart, take care. Stay safe, chum. And give your brother Steve a good kicking for me. And tell him to about time he had a chat with me and catch up over old times. That'd be great too. I don't know where any of you guys are nowadays, but seem to have lost touch a little bit, certainly with Steve. But yeah, be cool. Fantastic. Right. Well, I'm going to ramble on if I don't call it to watch and join in and chat with us. Yeah, she might do. I'm not aware. She may even be doing that right now, just checking up on me and what I'm doing. But I think she might have it on in the background. I don't know. But I see. It's interesting, really, Wendy. See what she does and says. But anyway, guys, I'm glad you've enjoyed this. I've had a lot of fun. No, that was Great Dixter, John. Sissinghurst Castle is on the it's in the vicinity. It's on the Cranbrook Road, and it's a beautiful place with what I call compartmented gardens, quite structured. It was bought by quite a fab pair of people. I forget their names now. Very well known, and they were sort of part of the nouveau riche and the modern art scene way back. I think he was a poet and writer. I'm not too sure. I do know the name, and if it's said, I'll know, yes, that's the name, but it's right on the back of my head. I can't think of it. And but the son still lives there, and he married the gardener writer Sarah Raven, who's done a lot of books and a lot of writing on gardening. So between them and the National Trust, they Sackville, that's it, the Sackville West family. Well done, Judy. I knew I had it in my head, but just couldn't quite get there with it. But they maintain the garden under the National Trust now, and they live there and do a wonderful job, and I love it. And the best place for me is something that they call the White Garden. It's just masses of white flowers of all descriptions, beautifully put together, and it's just a wonderful place to visit. So now places like this are starting to open up again. It's well worth taking a look and going there. Yes, but it's still part of the family, because the family, Ben, have the right to live there under whatever. They live in a part of it. So the son lives there with Sarah Raven. Well, they certainly did do it. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but it certainly was a couple of years ago. They may have moved out. I don't know. But yeah. All right, everybody. Well, I'm going to say cheerio. We are starting to lose a few people. And I've had a whole heap of fun with this tonight and with you guys. And once again, I just thank you very, very much for your kind support. And look forward to seeing you all on Friday, when I will be painting somewhere in the Sackville West Garden at Sissinghurst Castle. So yeah, catch you all then at 7. All the best, guys. Take care, have fun, stay safe, lots of painting. Catch you all on Friday. Bye. Bye Wendy. Bye Judy. Bye Ben. Bye Steve. John. This is what happens when you take care of a brush. Forgot that one.